Hi, folks. You know, I never read Genesis in as much detail and in as many times as I have during this study of Genesis. Doing an in-depth study, you could almost call this a new Genesis commentary. I've incorporated a lot of commentaries, and I've recorded, and I've also written some things on my own. But when we come to this one, Genesis 37, 9 to 11, when you read it and you go, what? You've got to be kidding. He dreamed another dream and he told it to his brethren? Oh no, what is he thinking? Well, let's read it now, unpack it all over again. And well, let's do it. He dreamed yet another dream, it says in verse 9, and told it to his brethren, and said, Behold, I have dreamed a dream more, and behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to me, or they bowed to me. And he told it to his father and to his brethren. And his father rebuked him, and said unto him, What is this dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to thee, to the earth? And his brothers envied him, but his father observed the saying. Whew! Now, what's that in plain English? So I start. Oh no! Here we go again. He dreamed yet another dream. Again, Joseph told his brothers, Behold, I have dreamed yet another dream. And behold, the sun and the moon and 11 stars bowed down to me. It appears to be totally inconceivable that he told his dream, not knowing fully the resentment of his brothers at the former dream. Whoa! In his first dream, the brothers really hated him even more. Now, in his dream, it seemed to him either that he was taken up to heaven and the stars bowed down to him, or else that they descended to him on earth and paid their respects to him. Folks, there's a lot of meaning that can be garnered from this. Throughout history, right back to Noah's day, zodiacs were followed by pagan societies. There were 12. Perhaps that's what it meant. But no, it meant more than that. You see, as if telling the dream the first time was not enough, Joseph told his father with the brothers listening to it all over again. The dream was so strong on his mind. I bet you. Well, let's read it the way I wrote it here. The dream was so strongly impressed upon his mind, no doubt by God's Holy Spirit, that he could not rest till he had shared it with his dad. It says, however, his father rebuked him. Now, in rebuking him, he said, What is this dream that you have dreamed? Shall I and your mother and your brothers indeed come down to bow ourselves down to the earth? Perhaps he said this, seeing as Rachel had died, to hint at the impossibility of such a dream being fulfilled. It plainly showed he understood the meaning of the dream, though he would not seem to tolerate it. He had to put on a show for the brothers because, well, let's continue. Jacob, or Israel, rebuked him because he thought it fitting in his wisdom partly to check young Joseph, lest he should grow proud, haughty, and insolent, and behave in a disagreeable manner, just like a spoiled brat. Well, and also he rebuked Joseph to calm down the minds of his brothers towards him, which could clearly be perceived to be great annoyance. Now, what? Another dream? Then we get to verse 11. And his brethren envied him. Though Jacob tried to prevent it, the brothers still sensed that Joseph was special. I remember our children going to school. And I remember they went to an experimental school with what was French immersion. And the principal called my wife and I into the office. And she said, Mr. and Mrs. Merton, I marvel at your children. They have an incredible sense of right and wrong. And that's what I was thinking of when I was reading this. See, Joseph's incredible sense of right and wrong was obviously misunderstood by his brethren as Israelite privilege. Well, he was Israel's favorite. He was his all-time favorite guy. And you know what? To a Black Lives Matter person of today, it would almost seem that whites are all-time favorites. After all, that means it's white privilege. No, here, really, the brothers thought Joseph enjoyed Israelite privilege, which actually is true. But his father observed the saying. That's how it ends. Israel took special note of the words of Joseph and the dream which he told, knowing well that God frequently revealed his will or foretold future events by dreams. Now, we haven't read much of that in the book of Genesis, because Genesis is really a book of firsts. No, there was a lot of firsts going on. That doesn't mean it didn't happen outside of the writings. Jacob perceived something extraordinary was being revealed in this dream, especially since the theme was doubled up, but in different forms. 11 sheaves bowing down to Joseph's sheaves. 11 stars bowing down to Joseph, who was also a star. There was something special going on. In this, Jacob knew that God was the author of the dream, though he did not fully understand the meaning. Now Joseph's brothers envied him. Envy is also known as jealousy. It is a strong motivational force that causes bitterness and amplifies, makes it greater, the hatred into a frenzied fanaticism that could easily lead to murder. That's how serious envy is. And that is how it was with Joseph's brothers. You see, this behavior that has been observed too much in the world today, unfortunately, is also in the church. More than I would like to admit, I have seen how members in particular congregations have envied each other for the chosen leadership and responsibilities that were delegated. I remember a pastor saying, "You are in charge of this, you are in charge of that," and people are looking with hateful eyes and saying, "What? The pastor chose them? Doesn't he know I can do the job even better?" Uh, you don't think that goes on in the church? Oh, unfortunately, it does. You see, some have even left their congregations because they felt they were being overlooked. But those who stayed behind in their congregations, they murdered the character of the people whom they hated. They murdered them with slander and gossip. They murdered their character. How different is that from what Joseph's brothers felt? Folks, this ought not to be at all. As believers, we are to look forward to joyful and loyal servanthood. That did not sound like servant to me when they said, "Oh, look at that. He's been used." Oh, no, nope, look at that. Ah. That's in-house politics. Think about this. Consider the passage found in Matthew 25, verses 21 and 23. His Lord said unto him, "Well done, good and faithful servant." Is it well done, good and faithful sound technician? Is it well done, good and faithful head of the committee? No. It's well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a few things. I will make you ruler of many things. Now, who is that that's speaking? Enter thou into the joy of thy Lord. You see, even when people don't always recognize your deeds, God does. And that's what we ought to remember in the church. And Joseph's brothers shouldn't have been so jealous.